All right, let's dive into one of the most brilliant, most elaborate, and honestly, most cheeky prison breaks in all of literature. Evans tries an O-level. We're going to break down exactly how one man turned a simple German exam into his very own get-out-of-jail-free card.
I mean, it's the ultimate puzzle, isn't it? The walls are high, the guards are everywhere, every single door is locked. How do you just walk out? Most escape stories, they involve digging, brute force, some kind of crazy acrobatics. But our guy, Evans, he has a much more, an academic approach.
And that is the hook. That's the core genius of this whole plan. It isn't about breaking out. It's about convincing the very people paid to keep you in to personally escort you right out the front gate. It's this beautiful piece of psychological judo, and it all kicks off with a serious battle of wits.
At its heart, this story is a duel. But it's not about violence or gangs. It's a high-stakes chess match between two very clever minds. So let's meet the players, shall we?
So on one side, you've got James Evans, nicknamed Evans the Break, for a very good reason. He's not some violent thug. He's a master of disguise, a master of deception, and he's already got 3 escapes under his belt. And on the other side? Well, it's the institution itself. HM Prison Oxford, a literal fortress run by a governor who is absolutely sure that nobody is getting past him. He knows all about Evans's reputation, and he is not about to be the 4th guy Evans makes a fool of.
And right here, this quote, it basically gives the whole game away. This is the governor's fatal flaw from the very beginning. He completely underestimates Evans. He sees him as this charming but ultimately harmless petty thief. He respects that Evans is clever, sure, but he doesn't actually believe that cleverness poses a real threat to his fortress. And that complacency, that little bit of arrogance, well, that's the first crack in the prison's walls.
So how does Evans get this whole master plan rolling? Not with a shiv or a smuggled tool, but with a request for education. He wants to take a German O-level exam. Seems totally innocent, right? Maybe even a good thing, but like it says here, it is the absolute perfect Trojan horse.
And you gotta ask yourself, why this exam specifically? Well, think about it. It requires an outside person, an invigilator, to come into the prison. It requires papers and materials to be brought in. And maybe most importantly, German is a language that pretty much none of the prison staff understand. It's the perfect way to smuggle coded messages right under their noses.
Now, the governor, of course, isn't stupid. He's so confident because he's got this whole protocol locked down, taking what he believes are all the necessary precautions. He bugs the cell, he has the invigilator searched from top to bottom, he takes away anything even remotely sharp, and he's got an officer staring through the peephole the entire time. On paper, it looks completely airtight.
But see, the real tools for the escape aren't the things the governor is looking for. Nope, they're hidden in plain sight. An inflatable rubber ring, for hemorrhoids, a simple paper knife, the exam paper itself, a Bible. To the guards, these are just harmless props. To Evans, they're the key components of an incredibly intricate machine.
Okay, so the stage is set, the players are in position, and the exam begins. And from the second it starts, Evans isn't just a prisoner anymore. He's the director of a play. And everyone else, the guards, the governor, they're all unwitting actors.
Let's just walk through this timeline, because every single minute is absolutely critical. The exam starts off normally, but then, 25 minutes in, a call comes through with a so-called correction slip for the exam paper, and it's all in German. How convenient. Later, just 3 minutes before the end, the invigilator makes this weird, seemingly innocent phone call. Then, just moments after the exam is over, the guard takes a peek inside and finds a scene of absolute horror.
The craziest part is, all the clues were right there, right in front of the governor's face. He saw them, he even noted them, but he just dismissed every single one. Why did this Reverend McCleary insist on bringing that ridiculous rubber ring? Why was Evans suddenly feeling cold in a stuffy cell, asking for a hat and a blanket? Each one of these was a piece of the puzzle that the authorities saw but just completely failed to put together.
So the guard finds the invigilator, Reverend McCleary, apparently stabbed and bleeding all over the place. And in the total chaos that follows, the wounded man gasps out some clues about where Evans has gone, and the entire prison goes into a panic, chasing a ghost.
And this is where the story just shifts from this tense thriller to a mind-bending puzzle. The governor is certain he's hot on the trail of an escaped Evans, but in reality, he's just fallen for the greatest misdirection of all time. It's time to figure out what really happened.
This is the question just hanging in the air, right?
In all that chaos, with a bleeding man in the cell and alarms blaring everywhere, how in the world did Evans just slip away completely unseen?
Because he didn't have to sneak out, he didn't have to slip past anyone. The genius of it is, he walked right out the front gate disguised as the very man he had supposedly just attacked.
Okay, let's break this down, because it is brilliant. The guy who came in as the invigilator? Total accomplice. The victim they found bleeding in the cell? That was Evans himself, in a masterful disguise, using pig's blood that he'd hidden in that rubber ring. And that German correction slip? Yeah, not a correction. It was the final set of instructions, confirming the escape route, literally read out loud right under the governor's nose.
And here it is, the final, beautiful, ironic twist. After the governor thinks he's cracked the code left behind by the bleeding McCleary, he actually tracks Evans down to a hotel. He's gloating. He thinks he's won. He puts Evans into a prison van, but guess what? That van, those officers, they're all part of the plan too. The governor, in his moment of absolute triumph, personally delivers Evans right into the hands of his friends. Checkmate.
So what do we actually take away from this incredible story? Well, it's a lot more than just a clever plot. It's a total masterclass in intelligence, pride, and the nature of perception.
The story just plays brilliantly with this idea of cunning winning out over raw authority. But the main theme, the one everything really hinges on, is appearance versus reality. Absolutely nothing is what it seems. And in the end, it's a powerful warning. Overconfidence is the single biggest security flaw you can have. The system wasn't beaten by force, it was tricked into defeating itself.
Ultimately, this whole story really just boils down to one word: cleverness. But we see two very different kinds of it on display. Evans's cleverness is practical, it's theatrical, it's meticulous, and it gets him his freedom. The governor is also clever, no doubt, but his is that academic, arrogant kind of clever. He's so busy admiring how smart he is that he completely misses the con that's unfolding right in front of him.
And that leaves us with the final question, doesn't it? Was Evans truly a once-in-a-generation genius, or was the prison system so blinded by its own pride, its own rules and procedures, that it was just sitting there, waiting for someone clever enough to come along and take advantage of it? What do you think? Thanks for joining us for this explainer.